Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett for Weaver Leather Supply. Let's make a very simple yet useful project. We're going to go with a cinch pouch. Now, we've made this in a video in the past, but this time we're going to go with exactly the right leather for a cinch pouch. All right, so anything I use in this video, weaverleathersupply.com or check below. We've got links there. Going to take you straight to the website. Also, if you want to know when our videos release, just click your notifications. You'll know exactly when these come out. So let's step over to our pattern table, get started. We've got a simple pattern here. We're going to talk about what we're doing, then we'll jump over to our digital pick. So on our original cinch pouch, we use suede. It's a little bit thick and it's got a little body to it. So therefore a 6x6 inch pouch, not that helpful. So what we're going to do, let's go with the perfect leather for a cinch pouch, but let's also bump that up to 7x7. Make that a little more useful. So right here on our flap, let's change this up. Let's flip this. Let's go flesh side out here, top grain for our main pocket, and then on our fringe, we're not going to have to cut this by hand. You'll see what I'm talking about. But let's drop in 2 layers of fringe, and let's go top grain to top grain. So therefore, we've got our flesh, top grain, and actually both. That's going to be a good looking pouch. Now, on our flap, I typically like to try to cut this to where I can get a natural edge across the bottom of our flap. Actually, let's cut these square. We're going to go a different way with those, add a nice touch. Okay, digital pick. So our main body, 7 inches by 7 inches, or roughly 18 centimeters by 18 centimeters. We're going to cut 2, and across the top, we've got our holes for our lace. 1 1/4 inch in from either edge, then a 1 1/2 inch spread between each. On our flap, let's cut that 7. Let's go 3 inches deep. That's going to draw that up just a little bit above the halfway mark. We'll cut that square and then we'll drop in our English point. That's going to look good. Okay, easy pattern. Let's step over to our main table, cut some leather. I think this is my favorite chrome tan leather. This is our Deertan Cow. It's a 2 to 3 ounce. But notice the supple nature of it. Notice how it drapes very nicely. It's got a beautiful grain to it. Now let's back up for those of us who are not familiar with Deertan Cow. So a deer skin. This is a beautiful hide. I love the feel. But a deer is a wild animal. The hide is going to be small and it's going to be full of range marks and natural blemishes. Basically a very expensive piece of leather. So a tannery is going to tan cow to feel like deer. So now we've got nice, large, clean panels, but at the same time, very affordable. We've got 4 colors. We're going with the classic black, absolutely, but I would love to see this pouch in the gold and the white. Okay, so let's reset here, get ready to cut this out. I almost want to go with the brown simply so we can see what we're doing because I'm just notorious for picking the darkest possible colors, but the black, it's a classic way to go, and it's going to work for so many of us. Okay, so let's scribe in. Always hard to mark black, but I'm going to scribe in with my awl. And there we are. Camera is not going to pick that up, but I can certainly see that. So when we cut this, first off, with this softer leather, the chromes particularly, let's go with a good sharp or new blade every time. So let's trim this out. What I'd like to do is let's cut our first line, and then we're going to square from that line all the way around. Okay, we've got that. So let's bend that back. Now let's square to this line and to that line. Good. Okay, I bet we've got a perfectly square piece. Almost exact. Good. So I'm going to do that 2 more times. We'll actually just cut one of these, then we'll bust it in half for our flap. Now, our pattern technically says 3 inches for our flap, and if we bust this in half, we're at 3 1/2. That's okay. We're going to add an English point. In fact, let's do that now. We're going to use a simple English point to put a dagged edge on our pouch flaps. But a simple tool like this, there are so many creative ways we can go when we start in this direction. We're going to talk about that in just a minute, but let's get our pouches punched. So right here, we're at 7 inches, our center mark 3 1/2. I'm going to go with a 3/4 inch master tool English punch, and I'm going to work my way out. Now I've measured this, so it's going to end up even on both sides. But if we don't have this size and we come in a little short with our last punch, that's okay because we can clip that off. we're going to lose at least 1/4 of an inch there when we bend this around. So that's not really going to be an issue. As long as we start in the center and work our way out, it's going to be symmetrical. So let's lay this against our edge. I'm going to take my tool and I'm going to put it right on the center mark. Okay. Now I can see where that tool landed on both sides. We can even pull that open a little bit. Let's drop the wing of that tool right in that point. Good. I'm going to work my way out in both directions. And last up, there we go. Okay, that looks pretty good. Actually, let's reset here. Look at 2 creative ways we can go with this tool. We may not all have exactly these sizes of tools. The bigger point here, take what we do have, play with it, see what happens. Okay, so let's jump up to a 1 1/4 inch English point. Now I'm just going to use a larger tool simply so we can see what we're doing. But just like on our pouch flap, let's drop in an edge. And let's just clip off that edge. Okay, good. We've got that. Now we're going to bump down to a 3/4 inch English point. What I want to do is sink that as centered as I can in this previous punch. Okay, we've got that. Now 3/4 inch, half of that, 3/8 of an inch. So I'm going to go with a 3/8 of an inch punch, and I'm going to do my best to get right on that edge. And same on the other side. Good. And let's just pop that little piece out, and we've got a perfect heart. I'm going to do the same thing on the balance. And there we are. We've got a line of hearts. How cool and creative is that? Let's take that a step further. How about we bring in a different color leather behind that? Maybe descending sizes in our holes and our spots. So many creative ways we can go. Right here, this is a cloak I've made, just the mantle. Again, just descending spots and round holes. Actually gives us a cool little picket fence look. All right, so let's step back over to our main table. Let's cut our fringe. I don't mind cutting fringe, but if I don't have to, that is a big help at Weaver. We've got pre-cut fringe in all 4 colors of the Deertan cow. Now again, the Deertan, it's very supple, so it makes a perfect fringe. All right, so on our pouch, we're going 7 inches wide. We're going to round our corners. So what I want to do, let's come in 1 inch on either side. That means I want 5 inches of fringe. So let's measure that out. And that falls in almost perfectly. Good, let's cut 2 of these. Well, that's easy enough, isn't it? That took no time at all. And again, very affordable way to go. So let's go back to our punch table with a little more light. Let's tape this together, get it ready to sew. Let's add our fringe first. Now this can be a little confusing. So let's take 1 piece. Down here at the bottom, I'm going to put that right on my square. So now, if we want our flesh side out, what I'm going to do, we're going to reverse this pouch. So I'm actually going to tape this in, top grain up. So let's come in 1 inch from either side. Let's add our 3/16 inch double-sided tape. And I love this. We've got this in multiple sizes. We'll use the smaller here in just a minute, but right here, let's just add a piece of tape, 5 inches long across the center. Okay, we've got that. Now this is where this can be confusing because I've done this. We need to lay our fringe inside the pouch. If we lay it outside like it looks like it should be, when we reverse this out, our fringe is going to be on the inside. So let's do our best to center that. Okay, good. Now I'm going to lay a second piece of tape across here. Good. Now let's go top grain to top grain. Good, we've got that. Okay, now we're going to lay in tape on both sides of our pocket. No tape across the throat. But let's jump down to our 3/32 inch double-sided tape so that when we bend this around, we don't see any tape. We've got that. Now, a larger piece. This is the 3/16 back down here. We're going to go across here, and we're just going to come out a little bit past this. We're going to round corner this, so we don't have to go right to the edge. But let's get some good tape in there nonetheless. And we can use the larger tape here because we're really not going to see this with the fringe. And we've got that. Now, to help ourselves out a little bit, let's gather this fringe and just tie it with a piece of wax thread. Good, and we don't need to pull that so hard that it actually draws in the corners. We just need to keep that out of our way when we sew our stitch line, okay? Let's go with one flap, and we're going to go flesh side out. Good, we've got that. Now let's add again, right here, our 3/32 inch tape. Okay, we've got that. Now, we need to go top grain up here. Let's lay in this flap. Good. And we're going to add some tape here and drop on our main body piece. Now we're using a lot of tape here. If you're really up to speed with a sewing machine, you can simply clip this. But we're going to be going through 4 plies up here. So let's make sure we add our tape. One more point, we could sew our 2 flaps across the throat, but we're keeping it simple on this one. Okay, let's lay in this piece, top grain down. We have got a good meet all the way around. Okay, next step, let's round corner this. Now let's make sure we're doing the right round corner. So up here, this is our flap. We want our round corner down here. We're going to use a corner knife. This is the 30mm, roughly about 3/4 of an inch either side. So let's drop this in. And the same over there. Okay, let's go sew this together. Big point here, we can absolutely hand sew this project and it probably wouldn't take 15, maybe 20 minutes. But we've got our Weaver 303. Let's go this route. This is a great machine. If you've ever worried about jumping up to an industrial machine, this is so easy to operate, maintain, thread, and it will move very slow. That's a big point. So let's start right here. I'm just going to go with my white thread. That's what I've got in my machine. Come in, maybe about 5/8 of an inch. Now, I would typically try to sew about 1/8 of an inch in, but we've got 4 plies here and we've got a softer leather. What I'm saying with that is it can roll on us. We don't want that. So let's come in about 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little more. Let's start, let's do a back stitch. And let's move forward. And we've got a pretty stitch in this. Now, for the new folks, or those of us that want to jump over, what I'm talking about speed-wise, look how slow this machine can move. So therefore, I feel like I have absolute control. We've got that. Now, before we reverse this out, let's go punch our lace holes. One more time, let's just make sure our fringe is pushed down in the pouch so we don't punch through one of those. I've done that. So, all right, let's mark this. We've got our 4 lace holes across the throat. Let's just use an awl and just press hard. Okay, we've got that, and again, the camera might not be able to pick that out, but I can certainly see that. So let's go with the 3/16 inch punch. That's going to give us a little larger hole. It's going to allow that lace to move through there relatively freely. Very good. Let's step back to our main table, reverse this out, add lace, and we are done. Let's reverse out our pouch. And this flips so much easier than the suede. I love this supple leather. Well, that actually looks pretty good. Let's take this off, add some lace. Well, already I like the look of that. Okay, so on our lace, we're going to go with our Latigo lace. I want a good lace on this because most likely I'm going to tie this to my belt and I don't want it to go anywhere. Now, we could simply lace this, but let's look at these. These are called Permalock needles. This is about the best invention in leathercraft in 1,000 years. We've got a threaded hole right here. So what I'm going to do is cut a taper on my lace and let's literally screw that on. And there we are. That makes lacing so easy. We've got a smaller. That's for our top grain lace. Say we want to do some edge lacing, and right there, much larger lace, but also the length. If we're going to say relace a baseball glove, that's the perfect way to go. Now right here, I want to tie my knot right in the middle of the pouch. We can go anywhere we want, but the point is with this, I'm going to start on the second hole in, and then let's come through the last hole. Let's flip it over. Then we'll go in, and out. And back around to the front. Now the Latigo lace, it's going to be a little bit stiff. It will soften up with time. Let's take off our Permalock. Yeah, I really screwed that on there, didn't I? It's a good hold. Let's see how this cinches. Well, you know what? There we go. Good looking pouch. Let's put a knot in this. Well, that's a good looking pouch. I love the combination of the flesh, top grain, and then the combination of the two. That's a great pouch. Very supple, very useful. And that's exactly right. A very useful, simple, yet cool project. Now, we've got to make one for ourselves, absolutely, because that's going to look good on a belt. But our second one, these make a great gift because every one of us has some use for a cool little pouch like this. I hope yours is beautiful, and I hope your second one makes somebody's day. Good luck with your projects.